Welcome to Pint in the Paddock. For this session we're going to have a chat with some team bosses and find out what it's all about. I'm joined by Jenny Wade from VIPDR, Ashley Orchard from KR Sport, Jan Daems from the Daems team, and Paul Spencer from Strawberry Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
And cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
We are in the dry at the moment, but I don't think we're guaranteed that this weekend, are we?
Well, I did check the weather,
Oh
actually.
yeah. Oh
Maybe a little bit of rain tomorrow and Saturday,
yeah.
but Sunday looks good.
That's got to make it challenging for teams and drivers, really, the changeable conditions.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not so bad. We've had a bit of wet and a bit of dry testing so far this week. But yeah, it's never easy.
No. One of the questions I want to throw out to you is how did you become team bosses, and equally as interesting to me is why.
Fantastic. Why? Ask me on Sunday. I think just racing's racing. You love racing, and you can't. You got to make a living, and you come and you love the racing. You sort of get into it yourself, karting. You really enjoy it. For me anyway, it turned into a business, and there's a few opportunities for me which have risen, which they do in life. And I was very lucky at the right timing, and everything was very lucky in my life for karting. And we started about '96, I think it was, and it sort of went on from there, and here we are today.
I'm actually almost born in a go-kart. My dad started karting in the 70s, and I was born in 79, so for me it's quite logical that I follow my father in his footsteps.
Yeah.
And so we are where we are now today.
Wow. Okay, Jenny.
I think I'm actually amongst very good drivers here. That's why I can see why they're team owners. But if I say half a lifetime ago, so I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But yeah, I also raced in the Yamaha 100cc just for fun, and realised how crazy these young guys were. And I had to go to work on Monday, so it's like, okay, I think this is not for me. But it was good fun, and I always loved racing. But we were more in a family of horse racing, not car racing. But yeah, fans of motorsport. And then the team I actually now am part owner for was the team I did the media for. And the team owner said his children now race LMP1 and KTM Expo, and I don't need a race team anymore in karting. So yeah, he offered it to 3 of us, and a couple of us took the opportunity. So
Took the bait.
why, I still don't have the answer to. Other than, it seemed like too much work. We have a different philosophy because we're into the race to get there. So we actually provide a platform for drivers, technicians, accountant, office girl, whoever. And this is our business is racing, but this is a platform for them to develop and to learn, and maybe their students and so on. And the same for the drivers. It's one of those things you just, I think like Paul said, you just kind of get stuck and say, what happened?
It's a vortex, you can't get out.
Yeah, myself, I raced from a young age. I raced from 8 myself. My grandfather and my father were involved in a manufacturing business within karting, actually making karts in the UK. I guess I grew up around it. From a young age, I understood quite in-depth details about the karts, geometry. So yeah, I was definitely brought up around karting. I learned a lot of things when I was younger. I had a passion for it. I enjoyed it. The opportunity came at quite a young age to probably put down my helmet, and that was probably the right thing. I mechanicked for numerous successful drivers, won a lot of stuff in Britain as a mechanic, and then moved into kind of an assisting team role. And it just went, that was the path for me. Very quickly it was clear that I should do this myself. Started small, got a little bit bigger, and now it's now we employ people full time. We have endless trucks, vans, awnings, big premises, dynos. It goes on and on, but yeah, I'm very much into the world of karting. It's a passion, I enjoy it. Sometimes I wonder why I'm here, but more often than not, I'm here because I want to be.
It doesn't take you long to get the answer to that question.
No.
Yeah. Speaking, obviously, I have the pleasure of interviewing a lot of drivers travelling around Europe with the commentary side, and I've found one of the big changes is that back when I was a little lad, everybody that was into racing, they would turn around and say, my goal is I want to get into Formula One. Now, almost without fail, they'll actually try and say, my goal is I want to become a professional racing driver.
I think it's changed. I think it's a sad thing to say, but I'm going to say it. A bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. Budget is motorsport now. I would say 10 years ago, because everyone says it always has been, I don't think it was. I think if there were scouts, let's say Red Bull, McLaren, let's say some names out there, come here and saw people, they was prepared at 14, 13, if they saw what they like, you know, they like what they saw, we'll take a punt on them. And there's certain people in the F1 paddock today, winning, world champions, with not a budget, what's been taken that way. The big sponsors, i.e. cigarettes and things, which is bad for our health and things, so I know they can't sponsor Formula 1 anymore, but unfortunately that's where the big money was. It's come out of it, the money's not there so much now, so now drivers have to take budgets to Formula 1 even. So unfortunately, the talent is not just a thing. You know, what I'm saying is if a driver can take from Russia or from wherever it may be in life 20 million to a Formula 1 team, I'm sure you'll probably get a seat. It's sad, it's a shame, because the Formula 1 should be back to where it was, where the raw talent and the best drivers in the world. There is still some, like I'm going to say Verstappen has just gone. He deserves to go, and he's probably one of the last I've seen where I'm sure there's budget. His father's been in Formula 1. I'm sure there's history there. He deserves to be in Formula 1. He's a very special young individual, and he's proven his worth.
Absolutely.
There's other boys, very, very similar, which never will have that opportunity because they don't know the path. They don't know how to even get them. And I just think it's a shame. But you know, the motorsport has changed a lot. So there is some boys like we've just been speaking about, and I'm not going to name any names, which deserve a shout, but there's no way of showing them. There's physically no way. But I'm sure people soon will get fed up of seeing average racing, and they want to see the talent again. They want to see the Alonsos, the Hamiltons, all these people come with no budgets. They are pure talent, and they were sponsored. I think it will come back again, because I think the big manufacturers, and I do think the big sponsors realise they need the talent for excitement. So I think it will come back. It's going to be a vicious circle, but I think the economy is very tight in the world at the moment, so the money has to be there.
I am a believer that Formula Ford, traditional Formula Ford, no wings, no slicks, is a critical part of a driver's development that's being missed, because they're learning mechanical grip like they have in the karts. As soon as you go to wings and slicks, you've got no idea, you're not learning how to control a car that's out of control. So if the conditions change halfway through a race, they're not as well equipped.
I think you're right. I'll use an example. My car racing knowledge is what I see, what some people tell me. I've not personally been involved, but in the UK we had this class called TKM, still there, massively popular. They used to race round on this really hard tyre, slipping and sliding everywhere. At the time in the UK things changed, and the Rotax class came to the UK, and people started going to Rotax, and that became the premier class. And eventually a few drivers came from the TKM class and they went over to the Rotax class. Now they'd been driving around on this tyre that had no grip, and they went to the Mojo, which was better. That produced probably 3 or 4 British champions in Rotax, from TKM to Rotax. My point being, Sean Babington, Oliver Hodgson, they all won big races, UK and Europe. They came from TKM, this hard tyre. So what you're saying with the no wings, the less grip, I think it teaches you what you need. But I'm not sure whether, some people might
It's
disagree.
my turn to be sensitive.
No, honestly, there's no right answer. I love the grip, I love to see the boy on the soft tyre, because I think it's a different sport. You bring the English boys to Europe, what makes you good in one makes you bad in the other. Depends where they want to go with their future career. If they want to be in Formula 1, you need to know about grip, you need to know about how to go around the corner. It's a different thing.
Are they missing out a step?
I think the problem is
There's no time.
the
There's
problem
no
is
time left,
true,
is there?
yeah.
There's no time
the problem
to do all
is
the steps.
the steps
They've been
was
missed.
you could be around 25 was the age roughly where you turned into a good Formula driver.
Right.
The age now is
Not now, it's
17.
down,
It's
absolutely.
not even 17. I'm kidding myself. he's
Yeah.
probably 16.
Yeah.
And if you're really special at 16, Verstappen signed and they held him back till he was 17 in Formula 1, which is unheard of. But there's no right time. So what I want to say when people say to me, is a licensing too early, too late? It's very, very, very hard. You get some 14-year-olds which are so mature and just don't hold them back. They need to go to cars because they're superb. There's other children, they are not ready. So it's a really, really sticky one. Verstappen, they've just changed the rules.
Agreed.
If they told me, I'd say you've got to be 18 years of age to sit in a car because this is the right thing. Verstappen's now in Red Bull, and he was 17.
And
how can I say I'm wrong, or right or wrong?
And doing well, but I mean, the other question that's raised about the age, about if it's too soon, is not about the skill. It's about the experiences, the life that's going to, in that fraction of a second, that they're going to make the right decision. Are they going to be too gung-ho because they've not made those mistakes earlier? It's difficult, isn't it?
It's very difficult to put, let us say, an age limit on it. So for that, it's going to be very difficult for the future when you have big talents and they're 14 or 15 and want to go to cars. And if the limit goes up 16, 17, maybe 18, then those boys, maybe they lose interest because they
Or
still
budget.
or
It's
budget.
blown it all, yeah.
So that's going to be a very difficult rule to speak about and to see what's going to be the best for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always think of it like a bit of a revolving door anyway. And someone put this to me a few years ago and said, you get to the door, and at that time it depends who else is there.
Yeah.
You get in, but are there opportunities to get out? Or you've got Max coming in, for example, and then you've got the guys right behind you. Maybe some of these guys
When you
know
see the
them.
Belgian guy Van
Yeah.
Doorn, Stoffel,
Yeah.
he's very talented, but I hope he becomes a Formula 1 driver. But
Yeah, you're already
It's a
starting to
lot.
worry he's missed his chance, which is a ridiculous notion, isn't
No,
it?
and what you just said, I'm thinking about it, so I can't let it go, about the hard and no wings, about the cars. What I will say, you're probably right, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because when I watched Formula 4 the other day on television, and I know most of the drivers in there, we've had in all our
Yeah.
stables, we're not even mentioning names, but we have. Some are good, some are bad. But it's horrendous when you see the crashes,
Yes.
the accidents, it's horrendous. So maybe the cars are a little bit too easy to drive. So they all go round. When you mention the Formula 4 days and the Formula 4 days with no wings and the harder time and thing, you can't do. So I'm backtracking a little bit, thinking maybe you're right in the respect of I'm watching the racing on television, and everyone's looking at the racing. I'm not sure the young age will continue, and it's going to continue because they can't stop it because they made a president. But one big accident from a young boy, and then we're going to look at it seriously.
Yeah.
And maybe what you've just said, let's have a harder tyre, let's have no wings for a little bit, and you have to do, maybe you have to have a way of doing, that's the step, because at the moment there is no steps, and you can go directly, depends on your talent, you can go directly, so maybe there should be a step.
Well, the US do it, don't they?
Yes.
With the Road to Indy, there's almost too many series as well for there to be a ladder.
A lot of people have come from Ginetta.
Yeah.
Not even the junior. I've had a few of them. A few drivers that have gone that route, and they make their way up. They're not going to Formula 1, but they'll be on a GT grid or a touring car grid. They'll be, as you said at the beginning, looking for a paid role, a professional driver, and they do get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it depends what the end target is, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, one of the other things, and I'm interested to get your response to this, is that to get an opportunity in racing, it's not just about the skills of the driver. There's a media element to this as well. Now, obviously, I can relate to this because I interview these drivers and things, and you get the good, the bad, and the ugly out of those. But even when teams or championships sort of run competitions or scholarship programs, they have these different steps for them to understand, and that includes media. And if they're a brilliant driver but awful in front of the camera, they won't get through. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
I think in a certain way, yes, because media, it is everything. The media budget depends, so drivers need to be representable. This has become more and more important.
Yeah.
I think. But in the end, if you're a very good driver and in the media it's not perfect, I think he will, in the end, he will also.
Well, let's be honest, we love Kimi Räikkönen, don't we?
Well,
He's
that's
awful.
Because he has
to
his,
my
yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got talent. He left Ferrari. He went rallying because he couldn't do what he wanted to do.
Exactly.
Ferrari called him back because they needed a man to do the job, and he's here. It's changing. He would be the last one, I think, who can't speak. I agree. Lewis Hamilton, he's turned into now everything that. He's a James Hunt of the. He is. He's a pop star. Tattoos, the haircuts, the earrings. He's everything we say you can't have as a racing driver. Lewis has done the job. He's fast, and he's a pop star of a Formula 1 paddock.
And I think it's great.
Yes,
I
think there is
love
no
it.
rules anymore. I think the speed is the speed. I think the problem we've got in karting, we probably don't get enough television, or we don't get enough publicity for the boys when they seem to go to cars, even if it's a very low end cars. Because let's not kid ourselves, the level we're at today, you have to reach. I'm going to say GP2. I'm going to say F3 maybe, but to be at this level of technology, of commitment. When they go to these lesser formulas, that's not where we're here today. This is much higher level than that.
Yeah.
So pro rata, I think, is GP2 to have the same standard. But it's just so hard because it's easy for them to be on telly or they're around the racing circuits. They get more publicised or they get more interest, even a lower formula of formula racing than you do in karting.
Yeah.
We need to address that because now, especially with Verstappen, he left, he went F3, F1, he short-tracked it so fast. So, and he come from karting, in karting we knew he was a superstar.
But I remember when Max first appeared, and he drove this car, that car, and then the media was saying, and who's this guy? And we were all saying, where have they been?
How can you not
because
know
we
him?
knew.
Yeah.
And even when he raced here a few years ago with Harry, and so many people watched that video, and these were two boys who we knew, but of course one pops up in Formula One, and the media people were really, in a way, ignorant of it, but at the same time not really ignorant so much as how would they know? How would they know? Because, like Paul said, it doesn't get that coverage because of the money, obviously, and the time, and airtime is expensive and you need the advertising to pay for it. But it was interesting because we all were going, wait until, the people see him. But of course the media problem also, like with DTM, I love DTM, but I think it's so, great, you can watch it, you can go, and there's lots of sponsors, and it has such a feeling about it.
It's more accessible.
And for more people.
Yeah.
And this is the gap. Once again, a little bit like they're jumping so quickly there. How should they know who these guys are? And maybe one does miss out because the sponsors don't see this charisma or this drive or the attitude that we know they have, because it happens so quick before they're even 20.
One of the things that I certainly congratulate here, and you guys might, the reason why I'm going to bring this up is that you guys as team owners, it's probably a love-hate relationship with how strict RGMMC officials are here. There's the standards. If you break the rules, that's it. There's no messing about. And I think that personally, and I'm going to put this out there to be potentially shot down by you guys, but I think that that's an important precedent to set for these, especially for the youngsters, that there are rules and you've got to drive in the boundaries. What do you think? And I'm sure you've all been caught on the rough and the smooth of those things.
For sure, they are very strict and needs to be very strict, but I think there is still a lot of room for improvement.
Okay.
On the racing bit going on, I think with the new, the CAK applied the new rules from drop bumpers. I think that's a shame that we don't use them here, because I think for me personally, I think it's a big step forward and pushing somebody off or having crashes and to be the races more fair.
Okay.
I think that's something that people here need to think about, and because when you see in general, like all the CIK races, everything became more fair. For sure, in the beginning there were some problems. They need to modify a little bit the concept, but I think now the concept there is, I think it's pretty good. I think I can't understand why they won't apply it here.
The problem with karting is, you without elaborating too much, when we come to watch the race tomorrow, it become quite clear there is difference in standards of drive. if you watch the front, normally, I want to say, with time practice, unless someone has a problem, but normally in time practice you put the elite to the front. And when you watch how close and how hard they race, it's incredible how good they are.
Yeah.
Whatever material, whatever, they're racing within thousandths of a second. And there is some bad decisions sometimes. When you look as a whole, it's fairly good. But as a whole, the front of the grid, the problem starts when you come at the back. That's just down to education for the boys and things, and they have to learn. So what Jan was saying about the new bumper, they will be penalised, if you like, that group of drivers a lot harder, because they can't get away with what they get away with now. They don't mean to, it's just the experience.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know when to fight or when to back off or when to, sometimes for them it's just a little bit too much. But, so what Jan was saying about the bumper, I think is very good, it cleans it up. There's no perfect answer.
No.
You know, the boys who are here to win the race, they understand. They push someone at the wrong moment or they do something wrong, they're going to be penalised. So the ones who are going to become European champion at the end of the year normally deserve to become European champion. And normally the racing's fantastic. I've got to say it is fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I completely agree with what's been said on the front bumper. Quite possibly we're missing a small trick there, and maybe improvements could be made. But I think as an overall, in my opinion, I think the RGMMC guys do still set the standard with the cameras on the track they've got. You know, it is strict. I've been on the side of it where I probably disagree. But one thing I will say is that when I come to these events, give me 5 minutes after the decision, I'll probably walk away and go,
Actually, yeah.
you're probably right. Now, I've been in a lot of situations where 6 days later I still disagree with the decision. So definitely the event we're at this weekend, the guys here, they still set the standards for me in running a series. You know, everything can be improved and everything can go forward. But at the moment, for me, I think that what they're doing is right, and you know, I'm sure that they'll keep going.
Tough but fair type thing, yeah.
Exactly.
And always they're looking for innovative ideas and differences. Like we also race a series where we use the bumper system, and you know, we had I think 5 penalties the first weekend, but that's okay because it's not. It's always the other way where someone does it to us.
Yep.
And you know, you need to do something. It's really a difficult one. But I also believe that knowing RGMMC, that they will come up with another solution, because people like Jan are also going to say, we need to do something, it's not quite there, and this is why it's evolved into what it is to be such great racing. And
Definitely.
you know, but then we can go back to the car racing and say, what should they do? Because the crashes are, what we were talking about, sometimes enormous. They don't have the bumper system or whatever, but it still goes on beyond karting.
No, it's hard because safety comes first.
Yeah.
In the old days,
It wasn't.
It
a
was
bumper.
not.
so when you hit somebody, you'd probably break your ankle.
Yeah.
Because your ankle's over the front.
Yeah.
There wasn't any accidents at the start.
So everything's got too safe kind of thing.
It's got too safe. And maybe if they went to like they do in Formula, where it's a rigid carbon fibre or it's something what breaks,
Yeah.
then they can't smash into someone.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's plastic, it's soft,
Okay,
it's
you
nice.
come up with a
absorbs.
solution.
You know,
Let's
it's
go back
hard.
to-
It's hard
There
to
we
say,
go.
but you keep on going on. It's like when you go, we all go rent a car. We all go because the young boys want to show the team bosses they're better than them. And us being cheats, we smash them off because it's got a big loop round it and we're safe. And there's a bit what happens on the track, and I'm sure there's an answer, but it's too plasticky and safe. It's too easy to just hit somebody.
Yeah.
But what the answer is, I don't know.
Because that is a very emotive subject, isn't it? Because at the same time, you can't then take away the safety.
You
'cause
put it
it's
there
like,
now, you
oh,
can't
no.
take it away because the minute you put it away,
And it just needed to. I think things have got faster. I mean, what about, what do you see as your responsibility as a team owner?
I think we're responsible for a lot of things.
Yeah?
I think some of the drivers in my team probably spend more time with me than they do their parents. And I think for that reason, I think that they can do a lot of things, you know, be in a lot of places, travel abroad without their parents. You know, I think we're responsible for a lot of things as team managers. We have a job to do, which is at the track. Obviously, we're here to win. We need to do a good job, provide the material, things like that. But this evening, we'll all leave the track. We'll be having a meal. we're all in the same hotel. You know, these youngsters of 13, 14, up to 16, 17, they're growing up around us as team managers a little bit. So we have to teach them sometimes the rights and the wrongs, and that can be involved in karting or away from karting. Yeah, definitely, we just have to look after them really, and hopefully we're someone to look up to for some of them as well.
But also from the driver's perspective, I really think sometimes they do look as a role model to some of the guys, mostly guys. There's not many girls, and you keep saying the boys, but there's a couple of boys out there.
Sorry, I didn't want to speak. Sorry, that's bad. But what's hard? Let's be really brutally honest. Winning's hard, and to teach someone to win and know how to win. Wanting to win is different. Winning and knowing how to win is a very hard thing. And it's a bit like someone said to me, "What's it like having a really good driver?" I'd say like on a racehorse. Can you imagine what a stallion that can win a race, what that mentality of that horse and the behaviour of that horse is compared to a little stable in the middle of a field what's happy? And it's hard because they think differently. As a 14-year-old child that's a racing driver who's become a European champion, let's say, his mindset compared to a 14-year-old boy at school who just likes to play PlayStation or something, their mindset, their focus, their thinking will blow your mind. And we can't understand. We talk to them and have a conversation with them. They're 14, and I'm afraid they are so in advance of their years on some things, and other things, because they can go round there and win, and other things, mundane things, they haven't got a clue. Yeah, the mum probably packs the bag for them because they're not interested. So it's so hard, but they are high maintenance.
Picking up on the focus element, that obviously we're talking drivers, that their primary thing they're driving, but certainly from speaking to people today is that the youngsters and the juniors in particular, you actually try to get them to not just turn up and jump in the kart, you get them involved with the mechanical side and all of that side of things, so that they're picking up and they can give better feedback, presumably, therefore.
The more you're involved with a go-kart, the better you can drive. If you learn everything about a kart, how it reacts, what adjustments you make, how the adjustments make a difference in performance on track, it's very important. Also, when you have a future in car racing.
Absolutely. I mean, we all talk about like Ayrton Senna with the amount of feedback that he used to give, you know, and it just does make a difference. I even heard of rumours, and I don't know whether you will be able to confirm this or not, is that for the youngsters, is that you'll actually suddenly change something on it deliberately to see whether you get the feedback from them.
Or not change. Or telling you change.
Okay.
And you don't change.
The placebo pill effect,
I'm gonna know now that
And then it's always better, isn't it?
Yeah. So there is like tests on them to, you know,
but
behind the
this
scenes.
is just about understanding. It's just
Absolutely.
about learning.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when you talk about this, Michael Schumacher comes to my mind.
Yeah.
When he was understanding in karting and then in cars about the car, and then when he was also with Ferrari, he could work with the people and give them the feeling. They're not driving it, he is. They can look at the data, but he understood how everything worked, and he wanted to know this, and he was interested. And I think this is something today that, I don't know if everyone's so interested. It's about the image, about the lifestyle of Formula One. I want to be like Lewis, but am I really interested? Do I need to know what the go-kart does because we finished?
They don't want to put the same effort in.
And it is important, isn't
You know,
it?
some of the drivers, I'm not going to mention names again, some of the drivers, we arrived at the track, they're here waiting for me. My lorry's dirty, we have to clean that first. Some of the drivers, I want to say, are cleaning that lorry, putting the tent up. They're young as well, and they do everything. And it so happens those said drivers are at the front of the race as well.
Absolutely. What's the hardest thing in your role as a team owner?
Losing to one of these guys, or girls.
Yeah.
I think that, like, you know, Paul said, it's so hard to win, but it's what really drives you.
It's worse to lose.
No.
Really.
It's horrible.
It's about how you deal with losing, though, isn't it? Makes you. Mondays are always a little bit touch and go, but by Tuesday you're back in and you're working harder than you were the Tuesday before.
Only get better.
There's all different types of winning as well. Not just winning, but also winning against different people, or to see someone achieve the win. and know that once you break through this, that they want more as well.
Expect it,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I mean, it leads me on to the next question, really, is, and it's weird because you've all sort of said winning and hate losing to any of these others, but the fact that we're having this conversation and it's sort of flowing so naturally is that it's almost like an oxymoron to some extent, because the question is, what's the spirit like between the teams? And I could give a positive and a negative answer based on the responses in about the last minute.
Certain teams, certain people that we are friends with close. Jan's worked for me, and we've been together as friends. We do everything together. He lives in Belgium, I live in England, but we're just very close. Sometimes we might not speak for a long time, but if I want, just Ash is part of the strawberry and cream and everything. He works very close with us. He's now one of our importers. There's certain people out there. We're racing, and if we get beat, as long as we get beat, what we want to call the family,
Right.
it doesn't hurt quite so much.
Share it
So there's a
about it.
clique, that's what we're saying.
There's a definitely,
It's okay.
there's a
Always
definitely
certain
an us.
participation in it.
Yeah, there's definitely an us and them.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to say is, when us and them we have to dig deep, we find there's certain few teams, and there's people we stood here with will say, we all know, we all dig in to make sure we all get the results we need.
Yeah.
So yes, we like to win as individual teams, that's for sure. But if our back's against the wall, we'll make sure we're all looked after and we all get the best results on the day we can get as teams, individuals, or rightly what we think should be winning. It's a very hard question what you've asked us, but what I would say is if one of them come knocking or we ain't knocking, we'd all be there for each other.
Yeah. It's beating fair and square on the track then, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
No, I understand that. We've been touching on the drivers largely, but obviously there's mechanics out there. What's the state of play in terms of the availability of mechanics and the desire for mechanics and engineers to come and get involved in this side of things?
I think some of the best mechanics in this paddock this weekend probably come from successful karting backgrounds.
Really?
They probably raced themselves, maybe they've gone on to Formula racing, but they've come back. There's also a lot of skilled guys in the paddock that have just been around it for a long time. The availability, in my opinion, not great.
We need more.
You have customers or you have drivers coming over. They're travelling from all around the world, and the driver's first point of contact and the reliability of that car is on the mechanic.
Absolutely.
They play a massive role for the happiness of the driver. The end result, the customer, how it's bolted together. So yeah.
It's interesting. Ashley said most of them come from karting, and I think that's because they share that passion. And they, a lot of the guys also that I see working now, I remember when they were driving little, but they can share this experience and so on. When you talk about the engineers, I could say, okay, in our team, and when you think about Austria, Germany, Schumacher and everything, not everyone can make it as a driver. And a lot of those guys go to college as mechanical engineers.
Yep.
So I could say, okay, we've had 4 or 5, and they actually probably more now. They are mechanical engineers with the certificate.
Right.
And they still like to be in karting, but of course in our situation with the platform, they're going to go somewhere else. They're now in cars or in a car team, or they're working with KTM or with Jaguar or whoever. But it's for us, and we like this, that they come from the courses and be part of it, because hopefully you get some of these guys and they're smart and they think about how we can improve our product. Can we make this? Can we do that? They don't usually stay all that long because they're far too smart and they can make much more money doing other things. But
It takes a lot of commitment to be a car mechanic. You're a lot of time from home.
Yeah.
You have to miss a family, kids, depends on the
and
situation at
sometimes
home.
that's the reason why they don't.
That's mostly the
Well, even
the
in
reason.
Formula One, everyone
Yeah.
thinks it's a romantic notion to work
But
here,
how many
but
weekends also?
absolutely, and there's no glamour to it. They
No.
get bussed in, they get bussed out. They had to put the rules in to limit that you can't work on a car past this time at night.
My experience is, you have them from a young age, they turn out to be fantastic mechanics by the age of 20, let's say, whatever age they may be. But like Jan said, it's a very selfish sport. We're away a lot. Now all our partners, it's hard stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every one of us, behind closed doors, we have big conversations at times. Because it's not about the more the money, if you've only got a normal job, it's not about that. And the young boys, there's a lot of them, I've had so many, who move to be with the swale factories, or they meet a girl from 100, 200 miles away, or whatever, and they start a life, they have a family, and they go and get a normal, what we want to call a normal job. They want to have the weekends,
Yep.
and they want to have other hobbies. You have to be committed. If you're a kart mechanic, you can't like golf, football, you can't like anything.
Yep.
You are a kart mechanic, and you love and share the passion with us. And it is getting fewer and fewer, because the commitment to win is getting bigger and bigger. So you can't just turn up now and go racing. We're going testing. We're not quite fast enough. We're going testing again to make sure we are fast enough. And to be as good as the others, you've got to do more than the others, or the same as the others. So it is more than full time, and that's a big commitment.
But the other thing also, when we talk about this, some of the mechanics for me actually want to win more than the drivers, if this makes sense. That they have so much this,
And I think they need
and
to,
they go
don't
crazy.
they? Yeah, because
And
they're
lose their hair
especially as they're the ones behind the scenes that don't, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to just drop one slight bombshell of a question there, in how karting has changed over the years, and is it better or worse? What's your thoughts? I mean, that's quite a bombshell of a question. I
It
know.
is a bombshell. We're going to say, is it better or worse? It's changed. It's changed. We have to. Things have changed. The perception of people have changed. The boys are probably more educated than they ever been, because parents now, with the money it costs, I'm going to go back to that. The privately educated boys and girls, and it's changed a lot. But I'm not sure, and I'm going to be old-fashioned and say this, as a whole, as a 100% thing. I don't mean the odd few, as a 100% thing. I don't think the commitment and the work ethic is still there.
Really?
I think the whole world has changed, maybe, and I'm the oldest, so maybe I'm talking a bit out of turn. I think
You're not going to say back in my day.
no, definitely not going to mention their words, but I think they need to understand a little bit more hard work and a little bit more commitment to everything, because there's some boys out there who are really fast, really good boys, but they're not really committed. I'd like to see more commitment. We can mention all the names, but we can mention every one of these names. They was more than just good at what they did. They was hungry. I'm not sure it's there anymore. And I think the money side of it, I want to say, has brought not the hunger. You know, there's boys out there which are not even here because they can't afford to be here.
Yeah.
And that's where the hunger goes, you know. I'm sure if we said, do you know what, for whatever reason we got a sponsor, let's say Red Bull, they wanted to come along and say, show me this sport where money doesn't matter. It would be a different sport.
And if we could pick the drivers to be here, how interesting would the race be?
Yes.
If that wasn't.
Which
I saw this
ironically
other
would
day,
then
someone
get
said
more interest.
If
Yeah.
someone said if money didn't matter, would you have the same goals? And those guys have the same goals because they've got that commitment and that desire. That's what our logo, that's what it's about. It's desire and dedication to these.
Okay.
Power and performance. And first of all, it's the function that you need to win and to be successful. But first of all, it's against yourself, and then they come against the politics, the money, and all the factors,
Absolutely.
the opportunity.
Dan?
I can agree 200% what you said before. So it's everything changes, and for the moment we have to deal with it. And we do the best,
Yeah.
and we see in a few years how it goes, and then which direction it will take us, and then we can look back and say maybe it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Formula One, to make this back to where it needs to be in ticket sales, to watch, TV viewing, let's not kid ourselves, I think it's gone down. Why has it gone down? Because the money, the hunger, the talent on the grid, the different performance in the cars because of the budgets and because of things.
Noise as well.
We need to get it back to where some of these big sponsors, what are in there now, need to sponsor. And their product, everything will grow, because if you go to a Formula 1 circuit, it used to be where you can't even get in, you have to stand outside to watch, or big screens, things like this. There's sports like that now. We've got to get motorsport back on the map, because I think we're missing, not as karting, I'm talking about motorsport.
General, absolutely.
In general.
Well, because it will feed, won't it? You know, if people are interested in that,
And I
then
think
they're going to come and do this.
I think the sponsors need to understand this. The big out of our control, the big players,
Yeah.
I think we'll understand this one day and they'll come back to us where this is a team, this is a sponsor, this is what happens. You're a factory driver, which means not you giving the money to the factory, you're a factory driver, you deserve to be here. And I think then you'll start seeing the talent again and the excitement again, because there is a lot more excitement if there's 30 people who are equal to win the race.
Yeah.
To maybe this weekend, let's talk about in each category, 5 boys we could probably name in each category. We've got names in a hat, and I think we'd probably get 4 out of the 5, all of us, which we think could win.
Yeah.
Where if there's equal opportunities back in the 90s when Jensen Button and all these, there's a lot more than 5 that can win.
Commentating last weekend on the Blancpain GT at Brands Hatch. Last year I commentated on it and there was 19 cars. This year, 37 cars on the grid, and genuinely the top 19, 20 were covered by less than a second. And so literally, you sort of have this banter in the commentary box about who you're going to put your money on, and we were going, I'm not putting my money anywhere. And that's what's capturing imagination now, and Formula One, etc. needs to capture that. And I think that you're right in the coverage for this is they're able to see is that there can be a lot of people that stand the chance of winning, because when the grids are up, it's some of the most exciting racing in karting, full stop.
I
Back
think
and
that
forth.
some people should go to watch some motorcycle racing
Absolutely.
and watch the little guys,
Yeah,
and all the bikes are the same and the rules are the same, and it's so close.
yeah.
And then later on you see the MotoGP, and also whose money, who would you put your money on now today, because you can watch it from start to finish and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Constantly changing, and that's the point, and that's what we love. That's
And
what I
they're
love about
professional, It's
karting.
about money, they're factory teams and so on, but still, I think there's a lot to take away from another motorsport. But it always goes, for me, in a cycle, that when one kind of category has it together, the other doesn't, and the other's struggling. And
Well, the best example I think is rallying and rallycross. They kind of, one will be successful, the other one not, and at the moment it's rallycross. So absolutely. So difficult times, but we don't lose our passion. We love the racing in general. We especially love karting. Thank you ever so much for doing this Pint in the Paddock.
Yes.
It's
Cheers.
been cheers everybody. Thank you
Cheers.
very much
Cheers.
indeed. Good open conversation, and best of luck to everybody for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.